Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and yep, we're going to take you through what we believe to be the finest games on Nintendo Switch right up to now. Even though we've got as many as 31, we weren't able to get everything in there. This is merely just the 31 that we consider to be the cream of the crop. We've taken a load of different factors into account. Metascore, OpenCritic score, our own score, of course, and of course, just a little sprinkling, by which I mean a heaping dollop of our own special sauce. Yes, it's personal bias. I've got the list right here, and to make sure that it's in no particular order, I'm going to randomize it now. And there we go. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Starting things off, we have Celeste, and what a way to start things off. Whilst there are a lot of games like Celeste out there, none of them can come close to matching its caliber. The platforming is fluid, the story is wonderful, everything's vibrant and really difficult. I mean, the main storyline and the standard gameplay is pretty tough, don't get me wrong, but there is some hidden bonus B-side stuff that is just out of this world, and frankly, I've never achieved it. Its simple mechanics evolve over time and become an absolute delight and a must-play platformer for any fan of the genre. Moving on, we have Super Mario RPG. It's only just come out. This is a near perfect recreation of the original SNES game, but souped up with modern standards. For a while now, Mario RPGs have been plagued with having just samey, boring characters time and time again. This, you can tell this one's from a previous time because the crazy characters are coming out of the walls is great. This is where it all began, and frankly, it holds up beautifully, and it is a gorgeous recreation. And if you're scared off by like big RPGs, don't worry, this one's like 20 hours, which, well, for an RPG, that's short. Next in line, we have Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. This started off as a beautiful, simple game, and it still is, but they have expanded upon it so much now. You've got the original campaign, you can play as Plague Knight, you can play as Spectre Knight, you can play as King Knight. There's also loads of other great bonus content in there, but to be honest, even just the base game would probably end up on this list, because flippin' heck, it's good. This is a love letter to the 8-bit side-scrollers of yore, but without all those horrible little limitations, so you end up with something that feels retro, but smooth and supple and delicious like a modern game. If you haven't heard of Shovel Knight, well, you have now. Next up, we have Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Is this technically two games? It's all sold as one package, shut it. 3D World is an absolute classic whichever way you slice it, with fantastically realized platforming and, frankly, visuals that even hold up today. Despite this being originally a Wii U game, I mean, come on, how far have we come? It's amazing what a good art style will do for you. And then we have the wonderful cat-themed Bowser's Fury, which, whilst is not absolutely everyone's cup of tea, and some people don't believe that this is the direction that the 3D Mario game should go in, it's still a great old time, and considering it's just a bonus, I mean, realistically, you can't complain. If you do, leave a comment below. Moving on, we have Stardew Valley, which I'm sure you've heard of. I mean, come on. Come on! It may not be the first game of its kind, but frankly, it absolutely nailed the formula, to the point that every single other developer seems to be playing catch-up. How many Stardew Valley-like games are there right now? At least 9. I love this game. I keep meaning to go back to it, but you know, I've got other things going on. But this Christmas, I genuinely think it's going to be the year that I go back to it. I'm going to start up a new farm with my partner. We're going to do multiplayer the whole time. It's going to be a grand old time. We're going to marry each other. Oh, I'm a man who loves variety, and yep, we've gone straight from Stardew, which is one of the most relaxed, chilled-out games, to Metroid Dread, and Metroid Dread is just absolutely sublime. Everything feels like it's got real mass to it, and everything that you do feels so powerful, except for when you're not supposed to feel powerful, and then it makes you feel weak, which is the point. You'll be smashing aliens, shooting foes in the face, and desperately trying to run away from those great big blinking Emmy robots that will stick a great big needle in your face. It's a hell of a time. It's definitely on the trickier side overall, but there is an easy mode in there as well, which Nintendo patched in at a later date, which I think was only a good thing, because it just means that more people can enjoy Metroid Dread, and frankly, this is just like a near perfect game to me. I can't overstate that. Metroid Prime Remastered. I did tell you this list was randomized. There may not be an awful lot of Metroid games out there, but when they do release them, my god, they are amazing. And this game does not really, considering its history, deserve to be as good as it is. It had no chance. It had no chance, and yet it's so good that Nintendo did an entire remaster from the ground up. Not a remake, I hasten to point that out. This is the original game, but every single art asset has been replaced. It runs beautifully. It controls like an absolute dream on Switch. It does make it a little bit easier than the original, it has to be said, and some people don't like the backtracking, but to them I say, shut up, it's Metroid Prime Remastered. Enjoy it. Next up, we have Persona 5 Royal. If you like JRPGs, then you've clearly already played this one. But if you haven't, my god, you need to get into this. This is an absolute treat. Some of the best writing I've ever seen in a video game, and even if it is, frankly, very long, it is worth your time. The characters are beautifully realized. It's got just about the best UI of any game ever, although admittedly not as legible, but come on, when it looks this good, I don't care. If you're talking value for money, Persona 5 Royal is pretty much top of the pile. Moving on, we have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Kind of one of the original impossible ports for the Switch, and frankly, it's still flippin' amazing. When you've got games like Starfield coming out, which I still enjoy, but definitely is not like leading the charge in terms of dialogue and character interactions. Considering this game's age and considering its scope, it is absolutely head and shoulders above the rest. If you enjoy a fantasy RPG, specifically an action-based one, or you just like card games, it's got Gwent. You just get this game. Next in line, we have another amazing value for money game, Hollow Knight. My word, I cannot sing the praises of this one enough. Everyone and their dog has already talked about how amazing Hollow Knight is and how Silksong still isn't out at the time of recording. But Hollow Knight was an absolute revolution for the Metroidvania series. Again, you only need to see how many games have taken inspiration from it in order to see just how good it is. The visuals are stunning, the soundtrack is absolutely to die for, to the point that I listen to it regularly by itself. And I genuinely don't think I've seen such fantastic and consistent world building with so little actually presented to you. I know you got things like Dark Souls out there, but I don't know. I can actually understand Hollow Knight, so you know, it's got a one-up on that. Next up, it's Pokemon Legends Arceus. Game Freak took the age-old formula of Pokemon, modernized it, changed it up, made your character actually do something in the world and actually have health and an impact, and it is phenomenal. It may be a little bit rough around the edges, the dialogue is a little bit stilted, the graphics aren't absolutely fantastic, but they're still better than Scarlet and Violet. But this game is just fun through and through. You actually feel like Pokemon are all of a sudden a threat, at least until you get powerful enough, but you know, let's not focus too much about that. And it has real challenge in there as well. If you slept on this one or you thought, oh, I'll just wait until Scarlet and Violet or something like that, I urge you to give this one a go. This is easily the best Pokemon game for 10 years. Oh, what a classic. The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. I feel like I don't even have to say anything about this one. It's Breath of the Wild. It's the revolutionary open world evolution of the Legend of Zelda series, and my god, it is still wonderful today. Nowadays, it is always going to be compared to its younger brother, but even if you've only ever played Tears of the Kingdom, you owe it to yourself to see Breath of the Wild through to completion. Moving on, we have Bayonetta 3. Now, Bayonetta, very famous for being over the top, you know, sort of hack and slash, sort of Devil May Cry style fighting and all that sort of thing. And then Bayonetta 2 took it even further, and everyone thought, what are they going to do with Bayonetta 3? And they just absolutely layered everything else they possibly could on top of it. And yet it works. This is the deepest, the most involved, the most developed Bayonetta game yet. And although it's true that sometimes things are spread a little bit thin in places, you know what? It's still worth it because those highs are so flipping high. I dare you to feel more powerful than you do when you're playing Bayonetta 3. I dare you. Next up, we have Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's true, It doesn't make you feel powerful like Bayonetta 3, but this is a game that in many ways and for many people defined the Switch. It came out at just the right time and was just the right amount of escape, and it's still a beautiful escape to this day. You'll be shaping your island in whichever way you see fit, making it exactly what you want it to be, and you are gonna have to flippin' work for it. This isn't like your mum's Minecraft server or anything like that. You're not gonna just be able to place blocks down. You have to work to it. You have to earn your island. It takes a full day to move a house. That's what we're dealing with here. Yeah, you can change the time on your Switch, but are you really playing Animal Crossing if you do that? I mean, yeah, you are. You can play it how you want. It's that kind of game. Enjoy it. Slipping itself in, we have Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which, I can't believe I'm saying this, for my money is the best Xenoblade Chronicles game. The combat is more intricate than ever, but they introduce it in a way that makes it actually really easy to understand for like the first time ever. And the story, oh my god, the story. You wouldn't think having 6 main characters would make sense in a novel or like a TV series or a film, let alone a game, but somehow they've made it work. This is admittedly an undertaking. It is not a little game by any stretch of the imagination, but if you give it the time it needs, you will get so much in return. Moving on, we have Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. Now, I have to be really careful here because this is the kind of game where if I explain too much, it's gonna diminish the experience. This was originally released on the DS, and even though it wasn't hugely commercially successful, it absolutely nailed itself into the heart of anyone who played it back then. And here it is again, in beautiful HD. All the wit, the charm, the puzzles, they're all here, and I really don't want to say anymore. I just don't want to say anymore. If you like the sound of it, watch our review, and that will be more than enough. Well, we're just over halfway through. Now's a good time for a little break if you fancy one, or you can just sit there and continue to imbibe the lovely information that we're pushing directly into your faces. The choice is yours, but we're gonna carry on. Next up, it's an easier one. I can talk about this until the cows come home. It's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The Booster Course Pass Plus pack has now finished, and now we are left with a whopping 96 courses in this beauty of a game. I don't think I'm alone when I say that no Mario Kart game has ever felt this responsive and this good, and I can't believe it's nearly 10 years old. I don't even have to talk about this one. This is the best-selling game on Switch by a country mile, so if you're watching this video, you've probably already got it, and you've probably put 40 hours into it. Prove me wrong in the comments. Moving on, we have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, another massive seller for Switch, and so rightfully deserved. There are a few fighting game snobs out there who'll say it's not a real fighting game, but you know what? The whole point of the game is to fight your opponents and be the one on top, so yeah, it's a fighting game. We've seen a number of competitors in the likes of Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl and stuff like that, but nothing has even come close, frankly. Nothing's come close. This is the most refined, the most beautiful, the most straightforward, and yet at the same time, the deepest platform fighter you can find anywhere, and it's right here on Switch. With 74 playable fighters from all walks of gaming life, there is bound to be someone here that you adore to death, and even if there's for some reason you really want Jonesy from Fortnite in there, buy the game anyway, you'll fall in love with someone, I guarantee it. This game is full of content, full of fun. I still play it semi-regularly to this day. No other game can take that crown. Next in line, it's Splatoon 3. It superseded Splatoon 2, and with the recent announcement and the new content coming from the new chill season, it's only looking to get better. Yeah, they've been a bit slow with the updates, but you know what? It's getting better. It's getting better. But even saying that, when it was just first released, it was absolutely spectacular. Again, you only need to see that other people are trying to latch onto that success with the likes of Foam Stars and similar games. I can't think of any others, but I'm sure they're out there. The formula has not aged a day, and Splatoon 3 does it better than any of the others. It looks the best, it plays the best, it feels the best. And you know what? Sometimes the online's even acceptable. That's a bit unfair, but it can be a bit ropey from time to time. But despite that, Splatoon 3 is still one of the best online experiences you can find on Switch. And it's a shooter by Nintendo. You wouldn't have thought it was possible. Moving on, we have Portal Companion Collection. Is this technically 2 games? Yeah, I still don't care. This is the phenomenal Portal 1 and the fantastic Portal 2, which built on everything the previous one did, and although it wasn't as tight and succinct as the first one was, this sort of beautiful gem, this diamond in the rough, it was still an incredible time and a near perfect sequel. The Portal mechanics are to die for, and I would say, of course, you know that everyone's played this game, but I've seen plenty of people say that they haven't. What are you doing? What are you doing? Go and get Portal Companion Collection on Switch! You didn't think we'd leave this one out, did you? Come on. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. It's a little bit cool to hate on this game. It's a little bit kind of edgy and sort of, oh, you know, Breath of the Wild was better. No, mate. I mean, you know, you could argue that it was a simpler, more concise experience in Breath of the Wild, but no. Tears of the Kingdom basically minimum doubles the size of Hyrule, and realistically, yeah, with all the caves and everything, it's more like triple. The Ultra Hand mechanics are so beautifully realized and so unbelievably stable. You can't push this game to its limit. It just doesn't want to. The game is so beautifully polished, and I could sit here and explain everything, but I really don't have enough time. I can only encourage you to check out the review for this game and all the others that we have linked in the description, because my god, this is just mind-blowing. This game is mind-blowing. Next up, we've got the darling of the roguelite genre, Dead Cells. You might look at Dead Cells and say, hey, it doesn't do anything completely outlandish. I've seen these mechanics in other roguelites elsewhere, and you'd be right, but none of them do it all quite as well and quite as balanced as Dead Cells. And more importantly, considering the game's setting, the tone is absolutely spot on. It feels dark and dingy, but also kind of a little bit, it's got a little bit of an edge to it. You know, it's not completely dark and dingy and gloomsy, you know, it's not blasphemous. I love Dead Cells. I haven't played it nearly enough, and now I think I'm probably going to do so this evening. Look what you've done to me, recording session. Next on the list, we've got Monster Hunter Rise, and you know what? Let's throw in Sunbreak in there as well. Is that technically 2 games? No, that's DLC. I'm sticking by this one. Monster Hunter World was a departure for the series, but Monster Hunter Rise brought things screaming back to where we like them, which maybe isn't the best for progress, but when you've played a lot of Monster Hunter games, you get sort of stuck in your ways, and you like some of those old, nice, tasty little morsels. But that's not to say it doesn't introduce anything new. Movement has never been better, frankly. And with all the new monsters included in the base game and Sunbreak totaling to, I'm going to take a conservative estimate and say 14 billion, there is more than enough for you to sink your teeth into. If you want the kind of game where you can grind things out and, you know, sort of really achieve and just essentially fight bosses over and over again, mate, this is it. Next up, it's a Tetris game. Bear with me. You might think that Tetris is a bit old hat, you know, real Melvin, but Tetris Effect Connected is another thing entirely. You wouldn't think that the same basic gameplay could be elevated purely through visuals and sound, but it is. This is the kind of thing that's difficult to get through in words. You kind of just need to play it yourself. And I mean, come on, it's Tetris. You're hardly going to have a bad time. Give it a go. Moving on, we have Super Mario Odyssey, the darling of 2017. It's strange to think of this game being 6 years old, but it is. And you know what? I don't care. It still absolutely holds up to this day. Moreover, if you're the kind of person who loves 3D platformers but doesn't actually get a huge amount of time to play them, this is the perfect game for you, because the moons are everywhere. And at first you think, oh, that's a bad thing, they're too easy. But no, the moons, the main collectible, are everywhere, so you can just grab a few and then turn your Switch off and get about, you know, doing whatever it is that is taking up the rest of your time, which is probably boring. The movement, the techniques, the possibility of breaking the game entirely, it's all here, and I absolutely love it. This is a slight departure to some of the others. Yes, we have Doom Eternal, and do you know how I said Bayonetta 3, you'll never feel more powerful? You might with Doom Eternal. The game may only run at 30 frames a second, and it's not exactly 1080p, but frankly, I don't care. The fact that this is running on Nintendo system at all is just marvelous. Blasting demons, smashing their skulls in, just shooting whatever big flipping weapon you can get your hands on. It's just the most fun. It's absolutely not for children. I'm going to be completely frank about that. It's a bit violent, but if you're of appropriate age, I can't recommend this game enough. It's arcade shooting taken to its limit. Next up, we've got another sort of surprisingly hell-based game. We've got Hades. It's a roguelite. It's got dungeon crawling aspects. It's got fun enemies. It's got, frankly, gorgeous visuals. It's just a great game. I'm getting near the end of the list. I'm running out of adjectives. This is a gem of a game. It screams to have speedruns, and with Hades 2 presumably coming out at some point in the future, get some practice in, because I'm sure you're gonna need it. Next in line, we have Cuphead. Run and gun, rooty tooty, point and shooty. It's Cuphead. It's the side-scrolling darling of the year it came out. Tell me another game that has done these visuals justice. Tell me. The whole rubber hose thing, the 1920s, 30s aesthetic. No other game has actually managed it. Some have tried, but none of them have managed to come anywhere near as close as Cuphead. And when you wrap all that round the most responsive and delightful mechanics that it has, you've just got an absolute winner. Not only that, you get a Netflix series. Moving towards the end now, and we have Pikmin 4. I love Pikmin 1. I barely played Pikmin 2. I love Pikmin 3, but Pikmin 4, it's got to be the peak of the series. I can't believe I'm saying that. Pikmin 4 takes all the real-time strategy and management that the series is known for, and it elevates it further. It introduces some new Pikmin as well, but realistically, it's all about the setting, and the setting has never been better. You get to go inside a house. This is the kind of game that you pick up and you sort of think, yeah, I'll play through it. And you sit down, you start playing, and you just don't stop. It is that engrossing, that engaging, that beautiful. It's an absolute winner. It's just an absolute winner. It's the penultimate entry. It is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. If you told me that there would be an effortless transition for Kirby from 2D to 3D, well, I'd believe you, because I've played Kirby in the Forgotten Land. I don't tend to get many opportunities to 100% complete a game these days, but I did it with Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and I did it with a massive smile on my face. The platforming, the abilities, everything that makes the 2D Kirby games good is fully realized here, and it's fully realized in 3D. And that's, well, okay, I mean, I knew they could do it. These guys know what they're doing, but still, it's so fantastic to see it so brilliantly realized. If you think it looks a little bit easy, well, overall, you'd probably be right, but I would say it was more a relaxing game to begin with. As things go on, it starts to get more challenging, and there's some really challenging stuff in there if you really look for it. Look for it. It's worth it. There's just one game left on this list, and even though it's still in no particular order, this was randomized. What's it gonna be? You've already worked it out. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I love it when lists end off like this. This is easily the best 2D Mario game that has released in, well, in nearly 30 years. That sounds like an exaggeration, it really isn't. Super Mario Maker and its sequel were great, and, you know, 3D World and 3D Land, well, they're more 3D games, aren't they? But this blitzes the entire new series, from New Super Mario Bros. To New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. I wish that was a joke title. This is it. This is it right here. It takes the original formula and it turns everything up. The visuals are stunning, the animation is unbelievable, the Wonder Flower effects are oftentimes one and done. You know, they're mechanics that they will introduce once and then just throw out the window, and that's amazing. There is so much variety in here, so much to discover, so much joy, so much passion that has clearly gone into every single atom of what makes this game up. You cannot find a better 2D Mario game on Switch right now. I'm serious, you know, even the older games, you know, but you've got to look at those as they were. You've got to see them as they were. But nowadays, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it just blows them all out of the water. And I do not say that lightly. And there you have it. Those are the 31 best games, in our opinion, available for the Nintendo Switch. But what do you think? Did we miss something out that you think should absolutely be in there? Let us know with a comment down below. Although do remember that this is just 31. There's lots we couldn't include. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you ask that subscribe button, who is the best cat on my lap right now? This is Punchki. Hello. And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. He jumped down as I was saying bye-bye. Who's a silly boy? Off you pop.